Hi, I'm Shao. 2026 seems to have been one of the slowest years in terms of new camera announcements and lens announcements as well. Maybe it's an unusual year, but I think it's a sign of things to come. This year, RAM or memory in general has become a sought after thing. There's a worldwide shortage in memory components. You can blame AI. Data centers need a lot of memory, and AI companies have been buying any memory chip available. So prices have been increasing rapidly. There's actually been a tripling of price, more or less. You can witness it in the price of memory cards, of computers and laptops. Cameras use memory too, especially in stacked sensors and in processors that are quite laden with RAM, with fast access memory. That, of course, will increase the manufacturing costs of new cameras. And to many of us, it might become prohibitive, especially as there are no useful features introduced in cameras. Most of the advancements in camera technology are incremental, and as we are already beyond the point of sufficiency in many of those aspects, like dynamic range, like low light performance, like resolution, of course, we don't quite feel the urge to update our photographic gear as often as we used to. It's not that camera sales worldwide have really been declining. In fact, since COVID, the number of units sold has been creeping up, but I'm afraid it reached a point where it can't really grow anymore. The rate of sales is more or less saturated. I think that most of the growth in camera sales in the past 3 or 4 years can be attributed to fixed lens cameras with smaller sensors. Those cameras are naturally lower end cameras and are sold for lower prices compared to the very sophisticated state of the art models. A good indicator of health of the camera industry is the number of lenses sold, interchangeable lenses. For many years, number has been steady, around 5 million lens units sold worldwide. The digital revolution increased the number of lenses sold, and it reached a peak of around 30 million lenses a year in 2012. But since then, there's been a steady decline. And in recent years, that number has been steadying. It is currently around 10 million lenses. And I think that is more or less the level of sustainable lens sales. That number of 10 million lenses represents the size of the worldwide enthusiastic photographer market. The increase in lens sales from the pre-digital figure of around 5 million to the current figure of around 10 million is grossly proportional to the world population growth. It is also motivated by the growing middle classes, developing countries, especially China and other countries in Southeast Asia. However, there are reports that the growth boom of the Chinese economy has been dwindling. The realistic rate of growth is quite in trouble in China. So I don't expect this very significant market of enthusiast photographers to grow anymore. It's more or less saturated. In the latest annual reports from different camera manufacturers, it has already been stated that sales figures in China are rather disappointing. They do not meet expectations. Should we be worried about the prospects for growth of the camera market and of the implications of camera manufacturers? That brings me to the second point I would like to discuss in this video. Why are we so interested in the health of camera manufacturers? We are merely customers. We spend our available income, or some of it, to acquire photographic gear. And those are quite significant sums of money. We owe nothing to our favorite camera manufacturers. In fact, if anything, they owe us. Even after we buy a camera from them, they should really try to streamline the experience of using those cameras by firmware updates, by always striving to make the users of these cameras more efficient, more enjoyable. It should be an unwritten understanding. Not all camera manufacturers do this. Well, some of them do. I've been a Nikon customer for a few years now, and I'm quite chuffed by their effort to add features to their existing cameras. But other companies don't really put their resources into it. For the camera manufacturers, it's only a strategy of customer preservation. If they keep their customers happy, the likelihood of switching systems, especially when the product cycles are increasing, there are no new technologies available. But I'm digressing. Why do we care so much about the health of camera manufacturers? I think that camera manufacturers are not only businesses in our eyes, not only those large cynical corporations that try to make the maximum profits to the delight of the shareholder. I think we treat camera manufacturers like sport teams. You see, camera makes create fandoms. They create tribes, groups of otherwise loosely related people who are rallied around their camera gear. Obviously, has a special meaning to them. Photography is a recreational thing. It occupies a part of our lives that is enjoyable, that is creative. Photography is dear to our hearts. And since we don't understand anymore how a photograph is made, it is not just a black box with a lens in the front. There's a lot of computing, a lot of electronics, a lot of science put into those little boxes. And we have to trust the manufacturers of those boxes to give us what we want, to be able to create inspiring, pleasing photographs. A large part of the success of camera manufacturers is down to the culture built around it. There are two examples I can think of. Fujifilm users have been building a close-knitted culture around the ethos of Fujifilm. It attracts young people with a nose for nostalgia. And indeed, Fujifilm has become a staple of street photography, people photography in general. If you are 18 years old, you are more likely than not to choose a Fujifilm camera with some prime lenses. On the other hand, we have Sony. Sony prides itself for its state-of-the-art technology, for its research and development that allows it to stay superior in terms of numbers, in terms of resolution, dynamic range, readout speed, etc. Of course, those characteristics are reserved to its very high-end cameras, but it inspires large group of people who are more technology-minded, who do care about those numbers. Sony's users in general demand demonstrable performance. They like looking at test charts. They like looking at dynamic range measurements, at readout speed measurements, more than they like to look at images. The thing is that both those strategies, Fujifilm's and Sony's, proved to be quite successful. Of course, in technological terms, all camera manufacturers are more or less equal. They are competing. Since we are already beyond the point of good enough, we have been there for many years. I think that 2011 to 2012 marked the point where every new camera on the market was good enough for most applications. In video, this point came at around 2020. The differentiating factor between camera manufacturers is the fandom. It's the culture of users. This strange relationship between a corporation, the users of its products, the customers, can be found in any type of product that has a fun function in our lives, like cars, like musical instruments, or musical recording equipment. It can never happen with washing machines, for instance. So I hope. Recently, I've been diving in the rabbit hole of microphones. I want to make those videos sound a little bit better. So I've been looking for a shotgun microphone. To choose the right shotgun microphone might sound a little bit better than the lav mic I've been usually using. I dove into some YouTube videos to hear the difference, to narrow down my options. Anyway, the level of peculiarity with microphones is unheard of, even in the camera world. The YouTube algorithm didn't take long to take me to videos discuss high-end microphones. Those are pieces that cost thousands of dollars. One of those microphones is easily more costly than any camera on the market, including the latest medium format Fujifilms and Hasselblads. And to be honest, I can't discern the difference in sound between one of those very high-end, lucrative pieces of kit and a simple $300 shotgun microphone, like the one I'm using now. All right, I have been rambling a bit. Back to photography gear. What does the future hold then? Well, I think there are a few trends that we will start seeing. The first one is longer product cycle. We got used to a line of cameras being updated every 3 to 4 years. But I believe that time frame should not be held for long. We'll start seeing an update every 5 years, then 6 or 7 years. I think it makes sense. camera manufacturers will be wise to skip a generation to make the improvements more tangible between one model and its successor. That way, the increase in price can be justifiable. The second trend we might see is diversification. More camera models will be dedicated to a specific application, to a specific type of photography, and it will be more tailored to a certain user. There will be cameras made for street photography. There will be other cameras made for fast sports or wildlife photography, and entirely different cameras made for landscape or architectural photography. That will be manifested in lens manufacturing too. There will be specific sets of lenses to cater for different genres. The same goes for video. There will be more high-end professional cameras that make use of log profiles, of raw footage. And there will be general use video-centric cameras. Maybe cameras combined with a small gimbal with the idea of obtaining ready-to-use footage straight out of the camera. We've seen it in the development of cameras like the DJI Pocket 3 or 4 and the new Insta360 Luna model. There's still space in this category for larger sensor cameras with interchangeable lenses. And I think the big names, main camera manufacturers, will try dipping their toes in those waters. And of course, to market those cameras, manufacturers will have to use more social media, and especially the influencer culture to push those cameras. Influencer videos, content might become even more cynical, even less trustworthy. And we have to be careful when consuming this content. This video has gone all over the place. I apologize for that. If you liked it, if you found it interesting, or maybe thought-provoking in any way, please consider buying me a coffee. It's a nice gesture between gentlemen. There is a link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon.